Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Flux of FluxWithIt.com, and we are here again with the Producers Hangout live show. And today, I guess to introduce myself first, I'm FluxWithIt.com, sound designer, producer, synth nut, that kind of thing. We've got Mike here with us from PadBangers.com.
What's up, guys? Mike here, aka Silent Cypher. PadBangers.com. I'm a German hip-hop and electronic producer, blogger, and yeah, stuff like that.
Next, we'll pass it off to Pete Marriott.
Peace.
Cannabis activist, producer extraordinaire, and hailing from Seattle at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hasn't moved to Canada yet. He's inching closer and closer.
You won't let me go.
Okay, and then we've got William McKnight of themachinewarehouse.com.
How y'all doing? Check out the website. We got a bunch of new stuff coming. I can't open my mouth about it yet, but it's something real interesting, so keep your eye on the website.
Yep, lots of great stuff coming. So we're going to dive right into the show today. And so what we're going to start off talking about this show is essentially cleanliness and how do you work in your setup? Are you a messy guy? Are you an organized guy? Does that translate both in your physical workspace to your file management and to the way you organize tracks and everything else, or do you do one thing more organized than the other? And just what are your general thoughts on organization? I'm gonna switch this off first to William because, like myself, he's one of those guys with a bunch of keyboards around him, and I know it can be a little bit hectic. How do you tend to manage your setup as far as wiring and placement of your gear? What is it that you seem to go by?
It's got to be within reach. Truthfully, I really don't like moving around. Like, everything right now I can touch, put my hands on, twist knobs. I have, well, you can't see it was behind the camera, but right here immediately to my left is a whole nother rack of synths and drum machines. So it's like I gotta have, it has to be close. I don't like moving around too much because a lot of times when I'm doing sound design or designing sounds, I might be incorporating more than one synth, so it has to all be close. And as far as wire management, you do not want to see what's behind the desk. I have zip ties on some of the stuff, but mostly it's just a mess back there. So as far as cable management, I really have no cable management skills at all, just to be real with you. So
now, have you gotten into anything like trying any custom techniques to wrangle everything together, or do you just zip tie it and that's it, and just leave it behind there, or what do you like to do?
Yeah, I pretty much zip tied and throw it to the back. I try to keep like one side separated from the other, so I know if I'm pulling a cable, then I know exactly which side it's going to. But other than that, I know on my mixer what keyboard is in what channel. So other than that, I really have no cable management.
How about you, Pete?
I have various weeks. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get so caught up into stuff that I'm just like, freak it, I'll get to it tomorrow, whatever. You know what I mean? It's all about how much activity is going on. But my preference would be to have a lot of space, which I don't have, and to be able to just have everything on racks or shelves. But I don't have that luxury at the moment. So although I have a sizable room, it's not too sizable. Like to the right of me, I have some records. To the left of me, I have rack gear. Behind me, I have my turntables and my guitars. If you notice here, I have like my hard drives out because I just finished doing a complete hard drive wipe and reinstall of all my software. So
Yeah, that's fun.
yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Now, do you find do you organize your hard drives and your files as more I'll get to it eventually and then I do it all at once, or do you tend to stay really organized as far as that's concerned?
I have a drive for different things. Like, for instance, I have one drive which is just straight up contact instruments, right? I've got another drive that's, machine or drum oriented, drum samples,
Sure.
right? I got another drive where I, from transfers from vinyl, So it's insane. And then, I got video files, and I've like several drives for video files, and it's just insane.
What about you? What about you, Mike? Now you've got a mixture of a lot of different things because you're also dealing with multimedia stuff, and then you've got the music stuff as well. You get the website, all that. What's your room setup isn't overly complex? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm here in a very tiny room. Let me switch over the camera and give you guys a sneak peek of my studio right here. The thing is, I needed, because of the room size, I like when everything is at least cleaned up and nice and tidy, and because I also have customers in here from time to time, so it can't look like a mess. So here on my left side, as you can see, I can't go any further behind.
We have your camera yet. You need to enable the video on it, I think.
Is it working now?
Can anybody else see him?
I can see him.
Okay, well then maybe it's just me who can't. Okay, now I can. I had to click on it. Sorry, that was all.
Okay, so now here's just a rack of keys, and here starts the cable mess. So because I move things around very often, depending on what stuff I have here, so even Ziplocs would be too complicated. And then over here, that's just the table, and over here's all the DJ stuff. And as you can see, only one more chair fits in here, and that's it. So it's very, very tiny space. And yeah, that's why I like it nice and clean, and so everything I can reach everything.
Sure.
Very easy.
I can tell you, my situation is kind of, I don't know if it's unique or not, because I tend to do so many different projects, all kind of coinciding at the same time. So I'll be working on audio projects, I'll be working on tutorial projects, I'll be working on blogs, I'll be doing reviews, I'll be building equipment, all kind of at the same time, and I tend to constantly stay moving. But the problem with that is that I also have severe ADD, and I hate cleaning. Also, I'm a pack rat. I love collecting everything from little bits of gear to MIDI controllers to whatever I have. Like, I have trouble letting go of that stuff because I'm like, oh well, you know what? I don't use this controller now, but a year and a half from now, I might use it for some obscure project or hack it or do something weird like that, and end up using it. So I have a hard time getting rid of stuff. I actually just recently built a second shed out back that I just started kind of piling some old gear in that I don't really use day to day, and also boxes. I tend to try to keep the boxes for a lot of my gear. And I gotta just put that stuff in storage. But to give an idea of what I'm talking about and what I'm dealing with, I'm gonna take my camera out here, and what I'm gonna show you is kind of ridiculous, but it's indicative of what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. So the modular does not count as far as cable management. Let's just get that right out of the bat. So modular doesn't count. Wires for modular are what they are. But oftentimes, so like I have this patch bay here, and oftentimes because I'm patching in and out of things often, I get a rat's nest over here that I try to clean up, but I tend to, get busy. On top of that, if I'm working on different things, like you'll see, like I've got a Fender Rhodes Stage 88 here, but on top of it, I've got all kinds of like little projects, like a monotron that I've modified, and I've got like synths on top of it that are kind of covered up right now, and but then I swing around and look, this is just a shame. This will hurt every DJ's heart. Look at my turntable setup right now. It's just filled with just stuff from like building other modules and trying out gear, and I was doing some weird MIDI mappings for the F1 the other day, and just stuff everywhere. My mini fridge, my kegerator is kind of like filled with junk right now. Like
I'm jealous of you.
It's just a mess right now.
Jealous of you.
And then over here I've got a DJ coffin that like I have to get rid of. So if anybody wants a really nice DJ coffin for free, if you can come pick it up, you can come and get it. And I've got like records in piles over here. I've got cables over there. It's just a mess right now. And and of course boxes of records and whatnot over here, and it's a damn mess. And the problem is, and oh, let me show you this. This is really crazy. So right now I've got a roughly 50-foot antenna coming out of my modular and snaking all through my basement right now, because I'm testing out some gear and trying some different techniques out. So what I've started thinking about is ways to quickly handle cable management. And I do have Velcro ties, I've got zip ties, and those sorts of things, but those tend to be a problem. But what I did find is, I'm going to show you guys this, if I can yank one up real quick. It's probably going to get mad at me. Okay, I yanked one off. I found these. They're like little stickies, and you can split them open like that and put your cables in them, and then stick to whatever surface, and you can kind of hold your cables in place with that. So these have been pretty invaluable for me recently. The only problem is they do tend to, like, if you're really moving stuff around a lot, they will lose their stickiness over time, so you got to be kind of careful with that. But if you get a good seal on it, you'll be good. Or shoot, just put hot glue or something on it. I don't know, if you want to be more permanent about it. So that being said, we all pretty much know that regardless of, hold on, let me adjust this, regardless of how minimalistic you try to keep your setup or how ridiculous you keep your setup, wires are a part of audio, and there's pretty much no getting around it, right? And there's a lot of reasons why we trust in cables and don't go wireless. Have any of you guys ever used any of the stage stuff for wireless mics and wireless gear? Wireless MIDI, all those different things.
Yeah, I tested a wireless microphone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's pretty useless for recording vocals in such a tiny room. It's not like.
I have to absolutely agree. I would never use wireless mics as a studio situation. But I mean, I've seen solutions where who was it? I believe it was either Behringer or Newmark. I want to say it was Behringer. Used to have like a little wireless receptacle box, and you could plug your MIDI cable, your DIN MIDI plugs into it, and it would wirelessly transmit your MIDI. But from everything that I've ever seen of those things, they cause more problems than they really solved. Have any of you guys ever used anything like that?
No.
Nope.
No.
Just got next on stage. That's it.
Yeah. Have you guys been following any of the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi MIDI and audio stuff that's going on?
You check out the projects on Kickstarter, and I hope there's some stuff that does the job really good, because I'm looking forward to that stuff. to get rid
I've
of a lot of USB cables.
Have you been using the have you tried using any of the MIDI over Wi-Fi or anything like that?
Yes, I tried MIDI over Wi-Fi from Apple's Yosemite, which is not working with my iPad third generation.
Well, that's
But
Bluetooth,
there's an app called Apollo. What did you say?
I said that's Bluetooth though, right?
Oh yeah,
Blue,
all right, yeah. I used the MIDI over Wi-Fi before that, but the latency was kind of high. So
yeah.
now with the MIDI over Bluetooth, it's almost it's usable. It's almost no latency when you have a good connection, and this seems like a really good solution to get rid of some cables. Now all we need is some um, products they produce for the masses, and not
So
only some
I've
minor.
used some of the ad hoc Wi-Fi MIDI stuff, and it wasn't terrible. I like some of it was okay. It was I wouldn't use it for finger drumming by any means, but playing certain keys you could probably get away with it. But so I'm kind of dirty segueing into it. But I guess I'll show this now. I've got one of the very, very early versions of this guy. I'm gonna get some light on it and see if I can kind of show this. I'm gonna bring the camera over. So I've got a early version of the MI1 Connect, which is, let me see if we can get some light here. Oh, we need more light. Okay, there we go. You can kind of see it. See these plugs right here? All they are is little tiny plugs that go directly into your DIN MIDI plugs. Here, I'll actually yank them out. Let me yank it out so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll lay it right here. Look at this. So they're literally MIDI plugs. Not just goes in and out, and this thing plugs directly into your keyboard. Any MIDI device that has the traditional DIN plugs on them. It's low powered, so they actually power directly from the MIDI. And I'm gonna see if you can see this. There's a really faint blinking LED in there to let you know that it's connecting, and that's all powered right from the MIDI ports themselves. So there's no batteries, there's no USB, none of that stuff. And let me kind of slide this thing back into place here. And what it allows you to do is currently, because it's very early, they have an app right now that you can load up. And I'm gonna pull the app up so we can show this. Let me unplug here. So this is what the app looks like, okay? And you can see how it says connected on it right now, all right? And I have it sending sending MIDI to and from Nave, which is an iPad synth. I'm gonna actually turn this off and on so that it resets because I kind of jacked it up just a bit. And essentially, you get pretty much latency-free MIDI with this thing. And I've only had less than a couple hours to mess with it because it just went up on the App Store. They're actually going to update the firmware soon so that when they update the firmware, it'll work with Yosemite and iOS 8 natively. So you won't even need this app, and it'll just work. And let's go to, I'm going to close Nave and then open it so that I can connect it up just to give a demonstration of how quick it is. Where are my synths at? So the thing that I've noticed so far, though, is that unlike using MIDI over Wi-Fi, you're not dealing with the latency, and because it's such low power Bluetooth in this thing, you can literally power a keyboard off of in one of my videos I showed how you can power Ultranova off of a phone battery. So you could essentially be completely wireless, and do old school Edgar Winter keyboard solos walking around with no cables on you at all and have no latency and be using something like an iPad or a Mac running Yosemite on stage and not have a problem. So, and because it's Bluetooth, you don't have to worry about the Wi-Fi interrupting or anything like that. And I believe it's good up to like 30 feet or something, but I haven't really tested it yet. So I'm really looking forward to test the actual length that it'll go and see if that will actually, you know, if it'll really go as far as it claims it will. Because that would be impressive to be latency free and be able to run across the stage, even if you're in a small club and not have to deal with that. I mean, that would be pretty fantastic. Are you guys interested in going wireless? And do you trust it?
No.
Nope.
No? Not even for control?
No.
Nope.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so is there any scenarios in which you would use wireless?
Maybe during a live show, but as far as in the studio, nope.
Oh, jeez. How do I shut this thing up? Okay.
For me, it would be the other way around. I would use it in the studio, but not in a live situation.
The way that I'm looking at it now is wireless has always given everyone such a bad taste in their mouth, be it through latency, be it through drops, be it through signal interruptions, be it through ugly signal period, just like noisy, low fidelity, that sort of thing. So right now we're looking at the age of Bluetooth MIDI with next to no latency going on with it, close to the same latency that you're seeing with wires. In the next 5-8 years, I fully expect to see Bluetooth MIDI and audio get to the point where it's as good as cables, really. And maybe even not just Bluetooth, maybe some other technology. But I think it's going to take a really long time for people to get that taste out of their mouth of like RF and using these 2.4 gigahertz mics and that kind of stuff. Getting all of that dirty vocabulary out of our systems and people kind of forgetting about that and moving past it. I'd really like to see a time where we didn't necessarily need quite so many cables. Maybe even if you had just little plugs that were like 1/4-inch plugs that you could plug into your gear and then, into whatever receptor port, whatever input on your gear, and it sent the exact same signal, same latency, and you didn't get dropouts, would you use it?
Yes, definitely.
I find that, I think you say that, you're like, yeah, definitely, but how skeptical would you really be? Like, how many years after it comes out would it take you before you make your whole studio just go to that and that be your default?
Well, I would give it a shot, and if it works, why not? I'm always open to new technology, and I'm very interested in it. And if I wouldn't buy I wouldn't buy that stuff for my full gear, but if it works with 1 or 2 devices, and then I would build up from that, sure, why not?
I find that new technology like that, it seems to come and go, though, doesn't it? I mean, we've seen lots of like gimmicks come and go, and like for instance, I got the what is it called, the Leap Motion controller that you can control things with your hand gestures, and then you kind of wake up and you say, well, wait a second, why would I want hand gestures to control my music when my hands are already busy playing keys or twisting knobs? Like, do I really want, optical hand gesturing and things of that nature? Not really. So when thinking about cables, I wonder, one of the benefits of cables is it's really easy to trace out where something goes. If you have a decent management system where maybe it's color coded, or you have, end ties or something on your cables so that you know what's what. But it does at least make it a little bit easier to kind of visualize and understand how your routings are. I wonder if that would pose problems.
But if you
Mhm.
would have like little plugs and they have an LED on it showing it a color, and it would be exactly the same. It would be maybe it would be even easier because you have like I don't know 60 million colors available, and you can really see where your signal is going just by looking at the light and not following all the. If you have color coded cables, that's a little easier. But if you have like a bunch of black cables running behind your desk, that's really a mess, and
Yeah,
that's really.
oftentimes I'll put marks on cables. So like on the ends of them, I'll put marks, or I'll put a piece of gaffer tape around it, and I'll write like a number or something that corresponds to whatever I'm going to, so that I know, okay, all right, this is this synthesizer, this is this compressor or whatever, you know. Um, Willie, you are getting ready to go down a dirty path of modular.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you thought about how that's going to affect the cleanliness of your setup?
No, I ain't really thought about that, but when you go modular, I already figured, like you said, hey, cables are necessary. I got a little drawer over here that I'm gonna have for just cables, and it's just gonna be. It's got to be what it's got to be. I can't worry about that. But to speak to the wireless whole aspect, like if you look at your iPad right now, you have the little app running on the iPad, which is basically the same thing as me grabbing a cable and jacking it into a synth or whatever I'm trying to go to. You know, my issue is always it's an app or it's a chargeable battery or it's always something that has to control the signal. And if the something that controls the signal collapses on you, the signal is dead. Like if your iPad went dead right now, would you be able to use that?
No, and that's one of the major flaws in the iPad design for me, and it's less about that. It's more about just batteries in general. Like I don't trust anything that's necessarily battery powered. Like when I'm on stage, I prefer to have everything plugged in, but there's there's benefits to it too, and battery power has gotten so much better over time. Um, LiPo batteries, I mean, 10 years ago, we didn't have very much stuff that was really able to be used in a live show setting like that, and now we do. I would, I mean, I'd be really tentative about that. I really would. I don't like doing, in the same breath, I don't necessarily like doing live shows with just a laptop without having a backup. You know? So like if I'm performing and I'm doing anything and I'm using one laptop, I have a second laptop that if something really goes wrong, I can plug it in and go, you know?
See, I see battery when I hear battery, it's as a backup. It's if my power get cut to my house, I have a generator to back it up. But if
Exactly.
my stuff is plugged in and there's no storms, I'm pretty much sure I can get my work done without having to keep my. I used to use an iPad to do mixing and everything, and even when I was doing that, I wouldn't use it wireless. I'd plug it into the Alexis control pad thing that I had, and I'd use it through MIDI. But still, I always had power running to the iPad. I would never actually unplug it and just move around the room doing everything like that. It don't sit well with me.
The biggest problem right now, like I'm really interested in the whole wireless thing. I think that's going to be really useful for me for a couple of different reasons. But I really want the wireless audio, and I want it to be the same fidelity that I would get through a cable, if not better. You know what I mean? Because without going through a cable, unless you're using a digital cable, you're going to have to use an A to D converter, you know,
Yeah.
at some point on that. So the more times you A to D convert, the lower your fidelity is going to get. So if you can get perfect quality digital audio wireless with no latency, I'm all for that. Like that would be awesome. Like if this thing didn't need this extra cable here, that'd be great. Now they have there's another iPad device, the, what is it called? The MIDI Connect 4 or something like that. They have a 2 and a 4.
Yeah.
The iConnect 4 and the iConnect 2, I think it's called. And that's supposed to do it fairly well also, and I believe it's using Bluetooth also. But this stuff needs to start getting like completely integrated into everything for it to really be fully accepted, I think. And once it does, I mean, I would have no problem walking around my studio and doing different things, and it would be a lot easier if I could maybe have my iPad in one other place, like say in a vocal booth, and be using it for like, you know, 3 or 4 different actions all at the same time from one controller. Get up, walk over there, be able to use it in there, not even worry about having to run wires or anything like that. I find that really useful. And when I track by myself, I use the iPad as a transport control anyway. And it's not connected to anything at that point. I use the MIDI over Wi-Fi for transport control.
Yeah, but how accurate? I've tried that before, and maybe my Wi-Fi wasn't working very well, but it didn't work too well for me.
Well, for tracking, you don't have to worry about latency in such a serious way. You know, like if you're just doing transport controls, stopping, hitting record, that sort of thing, it doesn't have to be quite so precise.
Well, see,
I'm not doing live finger drumming routines on the iPad over MIDI, you know, like that's, or over Wi-Fi. That's not going to happen.
Well, even like using it to mix with the AC7 core.
Yeah.
Whatever app there was, the faders were horrible.
When I do that, I tend to plug it in. If I'm actually like using that to mix something, then yeah, I'll plug it in. Because I can't do that over Wi-Fi. Like I can't be controlling 3 or 4 faders over over Wi-Fi. Like that's you're talking probably like somewhere between 80 to 200 milliseconds or so. You know.
Yeah, it doesn't work very well.
You know, and it's constantly varying too. It's not like it's one set amount of latency. If it starts moving back and forth, then you can't even try to like get a rhythm to compensate with it like you could, like certain things would have like MIDI delay, and you know, when you're, you know, if you had like your MPC and you know, plugged your MIDI cables up through like 10 devices and you were starting to get MIDI delay, you could kind of like work around it. You could kind of feel your way through the beat, but not with Wi-Fi, man.
What's also a great benefit is in live situations when you're mixing stage monitors and stuff. Now people with the digital mixers, most of them have now connection to the iPad and running an app on the iPad to control the digital mixer. Now the sound guys, they can walk around and mix from the listener's position. You know, like all the time when you went to a concert or anything, the best sound was always next to the sound guy.
Yeah.
And nowadays, they can walk around and adjust everything from the listener's position, like maybe in front of the stage or all over in the back, and you get a decent sound in the whole place and not only in one spot.
Yeah, and do it in real time. So, you know, because that's something that I found a lot of people struggle with. Like a lot of the younger music techs and front of house guys, when they would start doing sound checks with an empty room, and then you get a room filled with people, it's a totally different dynamic. You know, it's a totally different dynamic space. And now the fact that you can do it with all the people in there, you can actually walk out, you know, to a spot on the floor, and you could, you know, kind of tweak it. I mean, that's crazy. Like that's a huge innovation right there. So, and I totally get that people are using it. It still scares the hell out of me, but you know, as long as it's a situation where if it loses connection, it doesn't ruin anything, then it's not a big deal, you know. But I've seen people that use Wi-Fi on stage, like they have a router set up and everything at the spot, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, not me, man. Like, I'm not doing that.
Especially with all the smartphones now, everybody coming to a club has a smartphone with them. And all these smartphones trying to connect and searching for Wi-Fi networks automatically in the background. I wouldn't use Wi-Fi on a stage.
I find that far more dangerous than using my cell phone on an airplane.
Yeah.
You know. Uh, so I want to bring up another topic that's going to be a little bit closer to Pete, that he might kind of identify with this. We had a question on the Producers Hangout by a guy who was looking to get into. So basically, his boss is throwing a party, and because he is into production and everything, the boss says, "I want you to DJ this party." But he's never DJ'd before. He's interested in DJing, but he's never really DJ'd before. Um, So my advice, basically, it stemmed with a lot of questions first. What sort of venue are you dealing with? What's the age group? How much are you actually expected to do? And how much time do you have? Because my personal opinion is don't ever do a gig with gear that you are not familiar with. If you are jumping into a gig, and regardless of what it is, be it mixing front of house, be it recording in a recording studio, anything, be it DJing a live show, if you're into a scenario where you're not familiar with the gear that you're in, you're just asking for trouble. But this guy is in a position where he's given a bit of leeway, and he wants to DJ this party, and wanted to know how to get started, what to get for that first setup. Now, my personal opinion on it was go minimalistic at best. Like, keep it simple, stupid, you know what I mean? Because if you start adding in all kinds of extra controllers, and even if they're purpose built like a S4 or something, I feel like you're asking for trouble. So I say, if you've never done it before, get through this event first with something like an iPad or something like that, and then get into it. Don't try to get into the gig with the idea that, okay, well, I'm going to learn a professional piece of equipment in a month to do this gig, when you've got other projects going on. Like, I just don't see that as a viable scenario. What would your advice on this be?
I'm going to be very blunt here, okay? I'm a turntablist. You know what I mean? Like, you see back behind me, I have the Newmark TTX USBs, right? The torque on these turntables are stronger than the Techniques SL.
They ripped at least 5 babies' arms off.
I mean, this is a much stronger turntable physically. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like I said, I'm a turntablist. Let me just give you a little bit of my history. Okay, I am a student of the legendary DJ Professor Paul. Professor Paul, okay, is like, he takes turntablism as a martial art. So when you're in his basement as one of his students, you're not just in a basement, you're in a dojo, a turntable dojo. Okay? Professor Paul.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Professor Paul had a legendary battle. It was just fun. It was just a fun battle with Hitman Howie T, who is another mentor of mine, but on the production front. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pointing this out, and I'm bringing this history, to make the point of that. The thing with anything you want to be good at, it takes time. It takes the energy to sleep only 4 hours a day just so you could be great at your craft. You understand what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? So you don't see much of that anymore. And if it is out there, it's being suppressed. So my whole thing is that, if you are serious, like, you're into production and you're serious, you want to get deep into the craft of DJing. Okay? I don't care. Like, I play instruments. I'm also a turntablist. I'm a serious turntablist. And the reason I'm just using myself as an example here because I want to get this message out to your friend and to anyone who's interested in being a DJ or a producer. If you're a DJ, learn to become a producer. If you're a producer, learn to become a DJ. Because it's a spiritual energy. When you put your hands on that vinyl and you rub it back and forth and you chop it and you break it down, it's a spiritual energy.
Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. You're a wax surfer.
Okay.
Listen,
Yeah, I am.
I'm going to speak. I want to speak to the same point because this is exactly how I feel about the scenario, and I wanted to answer it. I answered his question on the page as diplomatically as I felt that I could without coming off like an asshole, because the way that I looked at it was, okay, so you're going to DJ a large party, but you're not a DJ. You are asking for trouble, and you're basically setting yourself up for failure in that regard. So either do it and don't pretend to be a DJ. Like, whatever you do, don't pretend to be someone you're not, because you will be seen through and you will look like a jackass. But if you, like the guy already said, this is something that I want to get into. Well, if you want to get into it, you don't want to get into it with instantly giving yourself a bad name right away. So my recommendation basically is, like, hang back. If you're going to do this, do it like an iPod, do it with like an iPad. Let it be like real minimalistic on that level so that it's not considered that you're a DJ, because you're not a DJ, you know? The way that I got into it was I was brought up around other DJs, you know, DMC champion DJs, and I myself, I can scratch, I can juggle. I still don't consider myself a DJ because I have friends that are legitimate craftsmen at turntablism that are DMC worthy guys, and that's not me. Like, I am a producer who can, you know, do actions on the turntables. I can cut, I can scratch, I can do that sort of thing. But do I consider myself a DJ? No, it's an element of my production. And you have to respect whatever you go into. If you took a DJ who's never produced in his life and throw him in a studio and say, "Oh, dude, you need to mix this track down," you know, it's going to be the same scenario. Like, he's gonna fumble his way through it, and if he tries to pretend to be somebody he's not, he's going to have issues. Now, the two translate to each other to an extent. I mean, you're gonna learn things from each other. Like understanding key and things are going to translate to turntablism, just like mixing sounds are going to translate. But the actual tools themselves and being a master of your craft is not the same thing, you know?
Well, okay, I agree with you. You know, all I was saying is that it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone's in such a rush. Just because we now have the technology to make things a lot easier, self-contained, and controlled.
And inexpensive.
Just because we have these tools, that can do that for us, does not mean that we have to abuse the technology. And that's what we're doing. We're abusing the technology and disrespecting it just by, you know, looking for every shortcut. To become a true master at production or DJing, it takes time. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to be dedicated. You have to be dedicated to the art, man. You know, the turntables is the genesis of hip hop. The DJ is the genesis of hip hop.
Yeah, I think, you know, in regards to this, I don't know if he's a hip-hop producer. I don't know what sort of production he does. But in the same regards, I would say that you can't go to a plumber and ask them to build a house, you know, next month. It doesn't work that way. And you shouldn't do that, you know, to anyone else. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of the idea of if you really want to get into something, you really shouldn't necessarily buy quote unquote starter equipment. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not the guy who says go buy cheap turntables and then get into it. Like, I'm more the guy who says, you know, get what you need that you're going to need in the long run, because otherwise you're going to end up buying things twice. So for me, it's like, I get that you want to get into this. I get that you want to make this your craft. I get that you may want to take the time to do it. But you're telling me that in a month's time you're going to do a gig, like, for something that you already don't know, like, number one aspect of this is you need to be a proper DJ, you need to not just have a catalog of music, but you need to know your catalog of music.
You have to know your records.
Exactly. And I think that's something that you can't do that in a week or a month. Like, to know your records and the effect that they have on a wide group of people, and to be able to read a crowd, right? And to be able to know when to do certain things and when to play certain things. And even to MC, like, as a DJ, like, if you're DJing a party, like, you have to also understand how to MC it as well. A lot of the times it comes down to, like, understanding when you need to break, when you need to talk, you know, what sort of things you need to do, when you need to slow it down, when you need to speed it up. If you want to take it seriously, these are not things that are learned in a month. You know what I mean? Like, this is a long-term solution. How do you feel about it, Mike?
What I think is a really problem at the moment, and this is because I see this from people I know. They want to be DJs. They go and get a MIDI controller and a laptop, and then some of them just download tons of gigabytes of MP3s from the internet. And I think that's not the way how you learn your music. You know, when I think back in the days, you went to a record store and you were looking through all the records and you were playing them over and over and try to match them with others. And nowadays they just download tons of MP3s and they skip through the MP3s and say, yeah, okay, that's cool, and they just throw them in and they see the waveforms and the tempo matching is so easy, but they never know their music. They never know the tracks they're playing. They just, you know, it's so easy in Tractor going through the playlist, and you can almost you can drop in every track and you can blend them together. That's not a problem, but it's not what makes a good DJ. And another problem I see is the expectations of the audience. Their standards are getting lower and lower. I've been to parties where I just said that DJ was so whack. This dude didn't know what he was doing, and people were like, man, this was a hell of a party. And I was like, how can you enjoy this? This was they drop in delay effects totally offbeat, you know, they don't even tempo match the beats and stuff. And if you have a little bit of feeling for music and understanding what this guy is doing, you say he was whack. He was not know what he's doing. And but people don't realize it. People say, yeah, it was cool, it was a hell of a party, because maybe they're drunk and they don't care really about all this. I don't know.
But see, that's what scares me is the thought that, see, it wouldn't matter to me nearly as much. It would be offensive, but it wouldn't matter to me nearly as much if the guy was like, hey, I have to DJ this party. I'm not a DJ. I don't really care to be a DJ, but I'm going to DJ this party anyway. And I'd be like, yeah, dude, just, you know, whatever. Like, iPod it up and don't give a shit, because technically the party just doesn't have a DJ. You know what I mean? That's how you should treat it. But the fact is that the person says, this is something that I want to do. Well, if you want to do it, you do the worst thing any DJ can do, locally or otherwise, is get a bad reputation, because your reputation is 100% the way you feed yourself. You know, that's how you're going to be getting gigs. That's how you're going to be getting into other clubs. And if you're that guy who did this train wreck, and nowadays with smartphones and everybody has a video camera at all times with internet connection, and everybody's got a YouTube account, everybody's got an Instagram, you could be that dude. You could be that dude on that, you know, on Instagram looking like a complete jackass, because you tried to do something that you aren't ready to do. And next thing you know, your reputation's gone. You'll never work in this industry again. There you go. And that's what so when people say, oh, you're overreacting, you know, he's just going to DJ a small party, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Realistically, it could be every bit as bad as you being caught doing donkey porn. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a train wreck and you're all over the place, you know?
yeah, but you see, if it's really just a small house party and stuff, I wouldn't really care. But the people I talk about, and I know they are really working in these clubs, they get a serious amount of money for a really bad job. And but people just don't see it.
I've been to clubs like nice clubs, and I've heard DJs just crash and burn. That, you know, it wasn't because, you know, they didn't have the equipment. It wasn't because they didn't have the time to learn it. It was because, and it wasn't even because they didn't even know how to use it. It was because they didn't pay attention to what a DJ needs to pay attention to. You know, I've seen guys that, you know, just they go in and they've got their set already planned out, and this is their set, and it's not going to change, and that's what they're going to play. That's not how DJing works. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go into it like, okay, this is a hard set list, and this is what I've practiced. This is all I can play. Because
Pete is about to
change. You can't do that. You know, like, if you do that, you're asking for trouble.
Ken, you are 100% right. You are 100% right. But the thing is that, you know, there's a generation, right, who now, you know, for whatever reason, they don't have the patience to, you know, want or the desire. They don't have the patience or the desire to want to learn the craft as it is. It's just something that makes you cool. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you something. I've seen great DJs that I think should have their own television show. Like, there's a dude here in Seattle called Supreme Lil Rock.
Mm-hmm.
This dude, let me tell you something. When he plays a party, man, you are going to dance your ass off. Because that man knows his records. He lives and breathes his records. You know why I can recognize that in him? You know why I can recognize that in you? Because we're all real DJs.
I think another thing that I noticed,
and we respect the craft. You are a real DJ. I seen video of you on the turntables.
But see, that's the thing is now I've practiced for years, but at the same time, I know what a real DJ is, and I do not consider myself a DJ. I'm a crate digger, you know. I'm a producer. I finger drum all day, and I can scratch. But that does not make me a DJ. Like, I don't have an illusion as to what a long-term DJ is. Like, I don't sit there like and study how every record is going to make the crowd. Now, I pay attention to it every time I go out. I certainly pay attention to it. That's like the number one first thing that any DJ should do who wants to get into it is pay attention to the party. Any DJ that's playing ahead of you or playing at a party that you're at, pay attention to the party. Watch what they're doing. I tell you what, I've learned more in one night watching DJ Jazzy Jeff at a party than, you know, most people are going to pick up in 10 years because they just don't. They go to these parties and they don't, you know, they go there, they get drunk, they whatever. But if you want to do this and you are in a position where you can watch, and it doesn't have to be a world-class DJ with a huge name. I mean, it can be a local guy who just knows his shit, and you can get into that. You can focus on it, and you can learn from it. I've got friends that are amazing DJs that I've known for, you know, 10, 20 years that every time I go to see them, every single time I take something away from it. I learn something from the way that they do something, you know, be it the way that they you know, use an obscure piece of music or something that I didn't expect, or the way that they just said, you know what, I need to bring the party down a bit so that I can bring it back up. You know, certain things like that. You start to learn. When I watch my buddy DJ Evil E, when he DJs, he has a charisma about him that is portrayed, like if you know him personally and then you listen to his DJ sets, he's able to translate his charisma. He's a very charismatic person, his personality, directly through the music. Like, if you go to one of his shows and you hear him, when you leave there, you feel like you already know the guy, because he's able to translate it. Now, if you just go to a party and you play music that you think is popular, you know, what kind of personality are you really sending out to people? You know, you need to have personality on those things. All of this stuff counts, and all of this stuff builds towards a reputation.
The thing is that what you just said, you're correct, because what he's doing is he's projecting his inner emotion. It's spiritual, man. You understand? What you just said about your friend is exactly, what I said earlier. It's spiritual, because he's projecting his inner emotion out onto that crowd through the records that he knows.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And so to kind of close it out, and just let me just say this. I answered the question as nicely as I possibly could. Because, like, it's a legitimate question, and I see it come up all the time. Like, as far as not even just on there, but in life, I see scenarios like, I get asked to DJ all the time. I don't take DJ gigs. I've DJ'd gigs before, and usually when I do, I try to tandem with another DJ, because while I can mix, blend, do all the functionality of it, and I can play a set to specific crowd types, I still don't consider myself a DJ in that regard. And I'll say, okay, listen, a lot of the times, if I'm quote unquote DJing a set, it's actually more of a performance. So, like, I'll bring, my drum machines, and I'll be doing live performance throughout, and then playing music to go along with it, to kind of enhance it in that way, which it's like a pseudo DJ, pseudo performance kind of thing. The thing that I would say is just, if you really want to do this and kind of gain a reputation for it and actually do it, don't pretend to be somebody you're not. Don't make yourself look bad. Do it as minimalistic as possible. And if you're in a situation where, like the guy was saying, oh yeah, the boss is probably going to fit the bill for some of the gear, maybe get some of the gear and just perform with an iPad. You know what I mean? Use it as an iPad holder for that show. Whatever you got to do, I don't care. But don't put yourself in a bad scenario, because it can bring the party down, and it can also make you look bad, and you don't want to do that to yourself. Don't hurt yourself,
You gotta, look, is it possible, like, if this person has a quick learning ability, right? If they're that type of personality, it is possible that within 3 weeks you could be, like, good enough to play a flawless set live on turntables.
Okay.
Within a 3-week period. But what that's going to require is roughly about 8 to 12 hours a day of practice.
I agree, but even then, like, my thought process on this is, you're gonna end up in a situation where it's you're basically hoping for the best, and trying to you're banking on the fact that, like, of like a small percentage that you're not going to tank. And let's say you try to DJ and you try to blend and you try to mix properly for these people. In the end, my thinking on this is, you're playing a percentages game, and those percentages are not necessarily in your favor. You might do okay, but the percentages aren't in your favor, so why put yourself in that position? Instead, respectfully say I'm not a DJ, and if you would like me to play some music for the event, that's fine, but I don't want to be there as a quote unquote DJ, because that's I
And
wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that going into somebody else's job and to pretend that I was a craftsman of something that I'm not. You should you should respect the craft the same way.
I agree with you, but I'm a hopeful person. I'm hoping that your friend has, a high learning ability and will at least try.
Sure.
I'm hoping that your friend would at least try just for 3 weeks, because I promise you, 3 weeks of hardcore training on the turntables will let you know and also help you decide whether or not if you're a DJ or not.
Yeah, and I think also something that kind of is another angle is, so a lot of the times, and there's different schools of thoughts on it. I personally am like you. I much prefer turntables. Even if you're using digital vinyl, I prefer turntables, okay? But there is a vast majority of new DJs are coming up having never touched vinyl and may possibly never touch vinyl. There are limitations to controllers that vinyl doesn't have, but in the same regard, there's also certain limitations that vinyl has. But I would say that they're in the minority because there's no better jog platter than actual turntables. There's just no better platter, to jog through things than
Spiritual.
vinyl.
It's spiritual.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree with you. I think that there's also a lot to be said for understanding how to read a record, how to read grooves in a record, how to understand how to needle drop. There's a lot of techniques there. Now, somebody who's just getting into it, especially with the proliferation of pop, dance music, and those sorts of things, you're going to see a lot more people gravitating towards things like Native Instruments just released a flagship mixer or DJ setup that does not involve any kind of rotational platter. Now, you can hook a turntable to it, but it's sold as an entire DJ setup, has your waveform displays on it and everything, no platter. This is a world that we live in now where a lot of these guys are growing up in that. But just because you have the ability to hit a sync button and sync things up does not mean that you still have a fundamental understanding of the techniques. And even with that, I would say if you know of any local record stores that DJs frequent, oftentimes there's DJ collectives in your town where people share crates of records, share hard drives, all that sort of thing. Oftentimes you'll find that they'll have DJ classes or DJ meetups on the weekend or sometime during the day. Go to those and try to learn from them, because learning on your own is going to be 100 times slower than going and actually talking to experienced DJs and getting that sort of knowledge, hands-on.
There's one here in Seattle called Scratch Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first Thursday of every month, right? And it's just like a big circle of turntables and mixers that everyone comes and brings their turntable, their mixers and everything. And what they do is that they just pretty much show each other what they've learned on their own, practicing in their bedrooms.
Yeah, we've got one here. Now listen, even you're in a city, you're in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm about 35 minutes or so from Philly, but I'm in Delaware, which is a really small state. You would think, nothing to deal with it. We have a huge amount of DJs in Delaware, and we've got an excellent place, Sam's Music Connection. So shout out to Sam Vaughn over at Sam's Music Connection, because that guy has done more for turntablism in the Delaware, New Jersey, Philadelphia area than most people would ever hope to dream of. And you know, you can go there. They have Serato Sundays. You can go there, and they have all the turntables are set up. All the DJs are there. They're sharing techniques. They're sharing what's working in the clubs. They're sharing, you know, everything from scratching to mixing in clubs to mixtapes. You name it. You know, and everybody's in there. I go there every once in a while, and I bring some production stuff, and I kind of share those ideas. These events are more prolific than people I think would realize. Like, there's a large subculture of DJs that are learning from each other, which is not like, you know, the olden days when we didn't do this kind of stuff. You know, this is not the days of ripping off your labels and hiding what I'm playing. These are the days of, let me make my scene get bigger, because that's going to help me eat, because more people are going to come out to shows, you know? So with that being said, this gets back to the whole idea of, like, your reputation as a whole. If you go and you learn from these guys and take your time and show that you're patient in it, and that you're also not going to disrespect their name by pretending to be someone you're not, in the long term, you're likely to get gigs, because not every DJ can do a show every single night at their club. Sometimes they got to take a night off, and you know what? They might just call you. And that might be your way in the door, you know. I've seen it happen a million times. So, you know, my advice. Let's kind of end this. But my advice is, take your time, just like Pete says. Keep it simple. And if you want to do this long term, see if he'll still get you that gear, and then try to work it in. You know what I mean? Like, try to learn on it every night, spend time on it every night. There's also a ton of awesome YouTube videos. If you're interested in things like turntablism, like scratching, DJ Qbert has awesome things on his channel. I can't tell you how many nights where I wanted to go out, but I had the family or something, and I couldn't go out. Dude, I'll load up YouTube, and there's back and forth, you know, versus things that you can do on, you know, routines that you can do on YouTube, where you scratch for 4 bars and then they scratch for 4 bars, that kind of thing. There's so many different aspects to DJing that it'll make your head spin. And we haven't even touched on lighting, you know. We haven't touched on lighting. We haven't touched on PA setups. We haven't touched on any of that stuff.
Gosh.
You know? So to pretend like it's a minor thing when someone says, "Can you DJ for me?" Be very careful in how you accept it. You might be better off saying, "I can't DJ it, but I'll go there and play some music for you." You know? But I would stay away from the term DJ until you've earned it. So I'm gonna pass off to Mike. We can sign off. Do you have anything to promote? Any reviews coming up? Any? Because I know you got gear in there. I'm waiting to see them. I'm pressing the issue right now.
If you're following me on Instagram, which is silent_cypher on Instagram, I'm shooting out some short clips of the Sub 37. Working on bigger videos right now, and also the Strike Fed review is coming. I'm still waiting to get a little bug fixed with a third-party software I want to introduce as well. And as soon as I got a solution for that, the videos are coming.
Excellent, excellent. Pete, what's latest in the works for you? What are you working on? Yeah, well, you're not working on anything. You're redoing your hard drives.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's gonna, you know,
right there.
It's gonna be a minute, but I have a couple things going on. I will say that I am launching a publication in the year 2015. I'm hoping, you know, I'm hoping for a particular date, which would be April 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to launch the site. So
Cool.
it's going to be it's going to have a very unique voice.
Interesting. Well, we look forward to hearing about that. That's for sure. You'll have to keep us posted on it.
And the other thing that I'm going to start doing is I'm getting into you guys' world, where I'm going to be doing like video tutorials, and you know, sometimes I'll show you some stuff on the turntable. Sometimes I'll show you some stuff, you know, with a particular software that I use or a plugin, you know. And the other thing I'm doing is that I'm reaching out to more artists, and I'm looking to do, like, I want to help as many really dope artists as possible who want a particular grade of production, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they get the real production experience, and what I mean by that is you fly out here, and I'll show you how to work in the studio where you'll be able to work with any other producer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That sounds excellent.
So. Yeah.
All right, let's pass off to Mr. William McKnight of themachinewarehouse.com.
Well, I said most of it at the beginning, but watch the website. We have the new machine expansion, Synthexium,
Yep.
500 instruments for machine. We got Drum Potion by yours truly, Flux. We also have the new Gorilla Drum Kit by Dason Seville, and we got maybe a few reactor projects coming out. So keep your eye on the Machine Warehouse, where you can get a lot of content, and that's content with a K.
So I'm gonna close out, and I'm gonna say on top of what Willie just said, because Willie and I have been working together on some things, and so definitely check out Drum Potion Volume 1, which is out currently, and you can pick that up over at machinewarehouse.com. You can also get it at my website, fluxwithit.com. I've got a lot of articles that are going to be going up very shortly for things like understanding and getting more deeply into Eurorack modular synthesizers. I already have a intro to it right now that's up on the site, so if you go there and check out the banner, you'll see some posts on there for that. I've got some really interesting projects coming up that are going to boggle the mind. I want more people to be less scared. That's my plan. My plan for 2015 is to take the scared out of people, all right? So I'm going to be teaching people how to build their own synthesizers, how to build their own gear, their own effects units, their own stomp boxes. I'm going to teach people I'm talking from not knowing anything at all about a soldering iron, not knowing anything about what flux is, not knowing anything. I'm going to teach you from the ground up how to build your own gear and how to save a ton of money and get boutique quality sound. So that's kind of my goal for 2015.
I want to sign up to that class. For real.
Oh yeah, it's happening, and it's going to be really cool. I've got some really great products and things coming along on BigFishAudio.com. Coming up very, very soon, you will see the Fine Line expansion. That will be a full, complete machine expansion with over 400 drums in it, like 40 different drum kits, like I think over 120 different instruments, all kinds of great stuff in it. So that'll be coming out really shortly. That's over in Big Fish's hands right now, just waiting for that to go live. And Synthrotech and Animodule. Let me give a big shout out to those guys. So Synthrotech has been really kind in helping me to get this information out to people. So there's going to be some projects linking with Synthrotech and their products to help me teach people how to build their own gear. And then Animodule has just a ton of awesome products that are coming out soon. So check them out as well. Got new videos coming up on YouTube daily, so check out fluxwithit.com and youtube.com/flux302. And check this out, by the way. It stopped working already. Yes. So one of the flaws right now is that it won't stay connected over a long period of time. So we can show that again. So yeah. So hopefully the bugs on MI1 will get worked out this week, and there'll be a review of that coming probably as soon as their next firmware comes out. I'm going to wait until it's kind of out of date, and then I'll do the review. So keep an eye on that. So this is fluxwithit.com. Please join the Producers Hangout Facebook.
Dude, your chaos pad is on. You need to repeat all the last sentences.
Oh no! So I don't know how long that was on for. I guess I just put it on there. But anyway, just go on to the producershangout.com and check us out. You'll get all that great info that I probably just mangled. Yeah, so my lapel mic right now is running through a Chaos Pad, so I can do some silly stuff with it. And yeah, that gets back to cables. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Peace out.
All right.
Peace.